I have pretty much a full face of new things to test today, some of which is highly requested by you guys. I have the ILIA Skin Tint stick. I have a new SPF, I have some highlighters by Surratt, I have some stuff from Iris and Romeo, and then the new ILIA lip pencils. So there's a lot to test. I'm also going to be having a long day today. It's about midday now, but I'm going out to dinner and then we're going to a show later. So everything is going to be put to a real wear test. I thought I'd start with skin prep. I just made a huge Yes Style order with like 20 SPFs. I've already been testing a bunch behind the scenes for summer. I'm working on a giant SPF roundup. But one of the SPFs that I ordered is the Dr. Ceuracle Hyal Re-Youth Moist Sun SPF 50 plus PA 4 pluses. Looks like this, and this is a chemical SPF, and it has this like squeezy tube, as you can see. I'm expecting this to be good because I really love Dr. Ceuracle skincare. I love their vegan kombucha essence, that milky biphase essence. I actually used that this morning. So I am expecting this to be just as good. And a lot of times with dropper sort of squeezy tubes like this, I'll just apply it directly to the cheeks. It immediately actually feels really cooling, and it's like a gel consistency. It does have a slight floral scent, but it's really strong. I had to hold it up really close to my nose, and this does have kind of a gel serum texture. And it's spreading out really nicely. I applied my skincare a couple of hours ago, so the hydration actually feels really nice on the skin. You know, I love my Korean SPFs. A lot of them are formulated in the same like couple of labs, so they can start to feel very similar. This one actually, unlike a lot of the lotion consistencies I'm trying, this has a bit of a lighter texture, which I think is really nice for the summer. It's giving me a nice glow. It's chemical filters, so there's no white cast or anything like that. It just feels really nice. So ILIA sent over their Skin Rewind Complexion Stick. They actually let me pick a couple of shades. So I grabbed one that I thought would be my skin tone shade in 12N Sycamore. Looks like this, and the top is actually really nice. It has this ILIA imprint, and it's a twist up stick. And actually, I don't know if you can see here, there's like a divot for your thumb. It feels very elegant, the packaging. And then I got a shade 16N, and I thought this might be more of my summer shade. You can see it's got a golden undertone. I think I'm gonna start with 12N. So they say you can swipe this directly onto the skin, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. That actually looks like a really good match for me. And they describe this as medium coverage and long wearing, which I thought was kind of interesting because, I don't know, I don't think of foundation sticks necessarily as long wearing on my skin type, but we'll see. I'm taking my BK Beauty 106 brush, and I'm just gonna buff this into the skin. That's honestly a really good match for me. I feel like on camera you can't even tell where it begins and ends, and it's really smoothing. Now, I will say, I am confused by the shade range because there are a lot of shades. There are 50 shades, I think, but there are so many shades in the medium category and not as many shades in the deep category. And there are a lot of undertones. The variation of undertones is really impressive, like in the medium category especially. But I really don't see as many deep tones, and maybe it might be different in person. I've been talking about this a lot on my shorts and Instagram and TikTok, especially after the Euphoria debacle, which I still can't believe haven't addressed. And one thing I have said many times is that the number of shades doesn't determine whether a shade range is inclusive. It's actually about the distribution of the shades within however many shades you have, whether they're equitably distributed from light to deep. And of course the range from light to deep, but it's also what happens within that range that matters. It's obviously hard to gauge from a brand's photos, but a little confused by that. This is going on really nicely though. It's actually very blurring over the pores, and it's giving me a pretty natural finish, which is I think what they claim. It really doesn't look like I have any makeup on at all. I will say for my skin tone and undertones, this may be one of the best matches I've personally ever had. The nose part doesn't lie. When it comes to stick foundations, I feel like the nose area is always the tell, and it is blurring over the pores. It's sinking in to some slightly bigger pores that I have around my nose. That's kind of unavoidable. I think it's not like I used a pore filling primer, so I'm not entirely surprised by that, but it is really smoothing and really natural. So this is one half of my face done. It really does look traceless on the skin. And I'm glad it has a more natural finish than their super serum. I've always found their super serum, is that what it's called? Yeah, their super serum skin tint. I've always found that to be way too dewy for my skin type. But this is a really nice alternative, and I feel like it's very buildable. Like if I want to add a little bit, I just kind of dot it in place. Off the bat for comparisons, because I know you guys are gonna ask, this feels not as matte as the Fenty stick. The Fenty stick is a little bit more on the matte side. And then compared to the Merit stick, I would say the Merit stick is a little bit more dewy on me. Like I feel like it's a little more buttery, maybe a slightly higher concentration of like plant oils in that formula. I do like both the Fenty and the Merit for different reasons, and they have slightly different finishes. So I would say from dewy to matte, it would be Merit on the dewier side, then this, then the Fenty. I've actually been thinking about doing like a big roundup on all of my beauty categories, like all of the skin tints in my collection, all of the cream blushes in my collection. I know a lot of people do like ranking videos. I don't know if I can rank them, but I feel like I can give you reviews and comparisons of all of them a little bit more in depth. So let me know if you're interested in that. Like I said, it's not high coverage. For example, I have some pigmentation here from a breakout. It's not covering over that, but it is definitely covering over redness and some pigmentation across the tops of my cheeks. Just for comparison, I'm gonna take shade 16N Madrone, maybe add some to the perimeter of my face because I'm curious what the difference is. I feel like this is a really nice like light medium olive tone. And as we're going into summer, I'm actually kind of happy to have a slightly deeper tone. But honestly, I could get away with this now even, I think, because it is such a sheer product. I do think if you want higher coverage, you're better off tapping in with fingers than blending out with a brush. Okay, I have a new concealer from Iris and Romeo. They're newer at Sephora. I recommended their SPF in my last Sephora recommendations video, and they have some really natural makeup items like a concealer. They have a blush that I think I'm gonna use, and they also just came out with a mascara. I haven't tried this concealer, so this is new to me. It's called the Best Skin Days Treatment Concealer. This is a really good example of a product with a small shade range that's equitably distributed, so it is inclusive, even though there are only 14 shades. It goes from light to deep, and there are the same number of light, medium, and deep shades. I have the shade 5. They call this a skincare like treatment serum concealer. Basically, there's skincare ingredients in the concealer. They say it has medium coverage, a natural finish, and it has a little pointed doe foot applicator, which I like. And they specifically say 1 dot goes a long way. So I'm just gonna start with 1 dot on the inner corner and outer corner. I'm taking my BK Beauty A506, and I'm just going to tap this out. I feel like this is a very skin tone shade for me, so I'm not expecting this to be really brightening, which is not really my preference when it comes to concealers. And this one has a little bit of peachiness, which I think could be a good, like, slightly corrective shade for me. I feel like I could use a little bit more than that. I feel like if I had gotten shade 4, it might be a little bit more brightening for me, but I know I'm gonna go up a shade in the summer. I always do. So I kind of was anticipating that. Okay, my base is looking really good. Like, not in a makeup-y way. I feel like it's looking really good in a no makeup way. So this side I have concealer. This side I don't have concealer. You can tell I have some redness, just like natural redness around my eyes. But even on this side, it doesn't really look like I'm wearing a lot of makeup. I'm actually kind of shocked. I really hope this lasts throughout the day. We're going to this new modern Korean restaurant in K-Town called Danbi tonight, which I'm super excited about. It's spelled D-A-N-B-I, anglicized, and it's Korean chefs. So it is like, it's not like Korean fusion or Korean, you know, adapted. It is like a modern take on Korean food, which I'm super excited about. And then we're going to see Waxahachie at the Palladium, and I've been loving her new album, so I'm super excited about that. And I'm also super excited about this base. And then I do have this bit of pigmentation peeking through. I'm gonna see if this covers that. Okay, it didn't give me like full coverage. It didn't blank it out, but it's actually pretty solid. That's like a solid medium buildable coverage. Well, this might be my favorite base combo I've tried in a while. And I didn't have really high expectations because I'm so picky about complexion sticks, but this looks really good. Hopefully we can keep this going. Surratt just launched their Artistique liquid highlighters. And if you're not familiar, they have an Artistique liquid blush in a couple of shades. This is in 3 shades. There's a champagne, a light gold, and a slightly warmer gold. I'll swatch these for you. The packaging is the same as their liquid blushes. And I have done a Surratt brand review actually. So if you wanna see how those work, the other products, I'll link that video below. These are a little bit tricky because you have to pump a few times in order for the liquid to come up. Oh, this one already has product. This is the shade Frou Frou. It may have like exploded in transit. This one's really pretty. It has this actually like iridescent, almost slightly hollow quality to it, but it's very subtle. So it actually just kind of looks like a light pink sheen. But I actually wasn't expecting that right there. Super pretty. I feel like on really fair skin, this would look just like super angelic and like fairy skin vibes. Oh, this one exploded a little bit too. This is the shade Chi Chi, which is like a warmer rose gold. That would look really beautiful on deeper skin tones. It definitely has this like rosy, warm undertone to it. Still waiting for this first one. Ooh, that's actually so pretty. Okay, worth the wait, worth the wait. Okay, so that's the texture. It's like a gel texture. And then, oh, that's so beautiful. This is the shade Lame. There's Frou Frou with that really iridescent light pink, Lame with a champagne, and Shishi or Chi-Chi, I don't know, that deeper rose gold. So I'm gonna take the shade Lame and I'm going to pick up with a BK Beauty 108 brush so I can get a pretty controlled application. I feel like this would be really pretty under foundation too. And then I'm just gonna lightly tap onto the tops of my cheekbones because I don't wanna pick up that complexion stick, but ooh, that's really beautiful. There is a slight twinkle. It's not glitter and it's not even micro glitter, but there's this almost like scattered twinkle effect to this. I really only wear like liquid highlighters anymore, so this is perfect. Leave it to Surratt to do a really beautiful liquid highlighter. I actually can't believe they haven't had this like in their line before. It seems so Surratt, so aligned with the rest of the brand. It does feel like it's drying down, like it's not staying dewy and it's not staying liquidy. It sets down on the skin. All right, I don't have a new bronzer, so I thought I would pull out a product I haven't used in a long time. It's the Patrick Ta Bronzer Duo in the shade She's Sculpted. And I'm gonna take my BK Beauty A507 into the cream side and just add a super natural bronze to the skin. I don't want the powder quite yet. Lately, I've been trying to do blush as my last cheek step because I feel like it prevents the cheek from looking too stripy. Sometimes I feel like when you do bronzer, blush, highlighter, it looks too stripy across the face. And so doing the blush last sort of sandwiches the cheek products together and melds the highlighter and the bronzer or the contour together. Forgot how good this is. It's like such a nice shade. I can definitely build it up for depth in the summer, but it's not too orangey. It has a really neutral shade to it. For blush, I have the Iris and Romeo Ceramide Multi Balm. I actually already had this in one of the shades and they sent over a new shade. It only comes in 3 shades, but it's really nice. So they sent over the shade Mood Boost, which is a really nice like peachy pink. This is definitely on the more natural and like dewier side of cheek products. And then I already had the shade Warm Flush, which I'll swatch for you. This is really beautiful. It's almost this like terracotta burnt toasty blush. I'm gonna go in with a brush because I'm a little worried this is going to pick up the base. So I'm gonna take that same brush, the BK Beauty 108. I'm going to lightly tap. I feel like this is a really nice, like youthful, fresh cheek color. I think the brush was a good call. It's definitely dewy, but I think the brush is kind of mushing it in with the highlighter and the bronzer. It's also surprisingly buildable. It's interesting because when you swatch them, there's almost this like gel consistency. It's like a gel cream. There's like a slight transparency to them. I feel like it's actually more buildable than I thought in pigment. If you have dry skin or you like a dewier cream blush, I think you'll love this. It has a lot of natural shine. Even though I have that highlighter on, I don't have any highlighter on here. It's giving me a lot of natural shine and glossiness just from the texture of the product itself. All right, for eyes, Jason at Phytosurgence sent over a few of the shades of their new Mystic Meadows collection, and these are so stunning. I was actually going to swatch them off camera, and then I did the first swatch. This is a one finger swatch, by the way, and I realized I just have to show you how these blend out. So this is the shade Precious Pollen. This is a cream eyeshadow. It's their Flash Fluorescence cream eyeshadow. If you don't know Phytosurgence, they're a small indie brand based out of Canada. This is the shade Mellow Mycelium. I mean, hello, that is ridiculous. I mean, the complexity and nuance of these shades and undertones cannot be overstated. I feel like they look so different on the skin than they do in the pot. And that's partly because the nuance of the undertones you don't really see until you blend them out and you start to see the blend on the edges of the shades. And it's such a unique formula because it feels quite thin and surprisingly like long lasting. They really set down and they're on the drier side for a cream eyeshadow, but that's what makes them long lasting. This is the shade Ancient Acres. It's a warmer golden, like slightly rosy bronze. And then finally, I have Hypnotic Honey. I do think in order to do these the most justice, they go on best with fingers because the warmth of your finger really warms up the product, and then you can blend out with a brush. I mean, just stunning. These are all like one dip swatches. It's wild. You guys know I've been really liking my cool tones lately, and I think these two are probably my favorite. They just have this like slightly grungy, almost like mushroomy, taupey undertone that I think is really interesting. And I think I'm gonna go in with Precious Pollen. So I'm going to apply this all over the lid, but in a really kind of grungy, diffused way. And these are all beautiful one and done shadows precisely because the undertones are so unexpected and they look different depending on your skin tone. They look different blended out. It almost looks like I'm wearing a different shadow on the edge of the blend than across the lid where I have the most pigmentation. I mean, truly one and done. Same thing across this side. Something I really appreciate about Phytosurgence is that they are always refining their formulas, and I feel like even since the last time I tried this eyeshadow formula, it feels elegant. It almost feels thinner and smoother, but these are long wearing because they do kind of set down. I'm just taking a fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I really just like to blend out the edges a lot. Such a great shade. There's a bit of edge to it because it's cool toned and it's silver, but it doesn't wash me out, and it also doesn't look black. I feel like a lot of like cooler undertone eyeshadows, when you build them up, just start to look dirty, or they start to look, yeah, like sooty around the eyes. This has a really interesting like taupey undertone that still looks natural. And these do set down. You can see I'm smearing across and it's picking up a bit of shine, but the colors themselves are really locked in place. Moving on to mascara, Iris and Romeo is launching this new mascara, I think the day that this video comes out. It's called the Lash Up Peptide Thickening Mascara. It's this really nice weighty glass bottle or tube, which is recyclable. And then it has this bristle brush that is curved, as you can see. And it's sort of tapered at the tip, which I think will help with application in the inner corner. So they say this has a peptide blend in it to help strengthen the lashes and help with lash density and sort of condition them. They said it lengthens, it defines, it stays all day. We'll see about that. And they say it is smudge and flake free. I do like to use my primers, as you guys know, but I'm just gonna curl my lashes and go in with one side, just with the mascara, with no primer. I'm glad to say this is not like a super wet formula. There's a lot of separation, even though it's bristly, there's a lot of separation between the bristles, so I'm getting a really fluttery lash. And the color of the mascara is super black too. It's giving me a lot of definition, actually. It's always a risky move to try a new mascara when you're going out, and especially at like a concert where it might bleed, so I'll definitely let you know. I always use a pinned comment to let you know how things wore when I do a wear test, and I'll definitely do like, I don't know, a 10-12 hour wear test on this today. The curl isn't perfect, but it's good enough that I'm happy with it. I just filled in my brows a little bit, and I'm gonna move on to lips. The ILIA Lip Sketch Hydrating Crayon. These just launched. These are super interesting. They're a stick format, so there's like actually a wooden pencil, and they call it a hydrating lipstick plus lip liner crayon. So they're actual wood, which I love, and it's kind of a format where you can line your lips and you can fill them in all with a pencil. There are 12 shades. They sent over 6 of them. This is not my best swatch work, but this is what the swatches look like. They're actually super creamy. They glide on the skin. There's no tugging. So from this side to this side, Earthen, Gala, Case Study, Night Bloom, Pampas, and Pink Door. So there's a range of reds, pinks, more earthy shades, cooler toned shades, and these are sharpenable with a pencil sharpener. I'm feeling a cool toned pink, so I think I'm gonna go in with Pink Door, which is this shade right here at the end, and we'll see how it goes. I'm using this as my lip liner, and these have a really like nice soft matte feel, but they are creamy and they do claim to be hydrating too. I feel like if you're using it as a lip liner, you'll want to sharpen it before use. But I really am into the shade curation, and these are gliding on really nicely. They're super lightweight too, like they don't feel really thick or heavy, and they do glide on, but it's still a blurred matte finish. And they did claim this is long wearing, and I can see that because I feel like it glides on when you apply it, but then I can feel it setting down on the lips. Do you guys remember when NARS had their lip pencils? It's kind of reminding me of that, just the shape, but this is much creamier. It feels just more elegant. It's just a more modern finish, and it really doesn't feel like much on the lips at all. The only time I'm missing a really sharp pointy edge, I think, is around the outer corner, like when I'm sculpting and doing detail work. But even for the Cupid's bow and stuff, I don't need much of a sharper point than this. And it is full coverage. I mean, it's creamy. I can still see the natural texture of my lips, just natural creases and stuff, but it's not sinking into lip lines as of yet. I am definitely expecting to have to reapply it throughout the night. I don't expect this to last all day, but I can see it lasting through like some eating and drinking with some minor retouches. So I'll let you know how it goes. I really love how this turned out. I'm especially impressed with how the base turned out. I am wondering if the blush is a little bit too dewy for me to be long lasting throughout the day. We'll see. I am gonna use a setting spray before I go out, but I actually really love the color story. It feels very feminine and fresh the way everything came together. But I feel like there's a little bit of grungy edge from the Phytosurgence eyeshadows. And do keep an eye out for that pinned comment. I'll let you know how things wore through the end of the night, through date night, through eating, drinking, standing, singing at a concert. I'll let you know. And if you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments and I'll meet you there. If it was your first time here, I'd love for you to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.